Jonathan Cott, former Manchin Communications Director, and Matt Gorman, Targeted Victory Executive Vice President. Gentlemen, happy Friday. Welcome to both of you.
Good to see you.
So, from President Trump on Truth Social, I am thinking of recommending a national convention to the Republican Party just prior to the midterms. It has never been done before. Stay tuned. Jonathan, what do you make of this idea of midterm conventions?
I didn't think we could start politics any sooner, but apparently we are. I guess it's good for guys like us. They're more business, but look, politics is theater these days. So yes, let's have more conventions. Let's showcase our talent, and it's a good chance for both parties to put people front and center, get the American people more focused. There's way less attention. There's way less voter turnout during the midterms. So maybe this will grow, voter turnout in the midterms, which would be a good thing for our country. I don't know if it's a good thing for politics, but,
Well, we heard Mark said that both parties are thinking about it. Matt, what do you think the advantages would be to doing this before the midterms?
One of the things our party struggle with when Trump isn't on the ballot is getting some voters out. This could help increase that, I think. I think the danger, though, for Democrats is this will turn into a 2028 showcase, right? You're going to have Gavin spouting his nonsense, everybody else. Where in our party, we have we have a clear leader and a top-down kind of party. I think with Democrats, that chaos, it'll be more of a 28 showcase than a 26 one.
2028. Yes, you could be producing the segment. The Emerson poll. Gavin Newsom, 25%. Pete Buttigieg, 16%. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, 11%. 16% undecided. So, Jonathan, is Gavin Newsom the guy to beat, the person to beat in your party?
No. And I know this because we don't have President Giuliani, President Clinton, or any other people that were leading this far out. He is gaining a lot of attention for his, opposition to Trump and his, use of social media right now. It's garnering a lot of actual traditional media, but it's getting the base excited to see somebody push back on him. I don't think he's going to be the nominee. I think it's going to be a governor from a more, purplish red state. I think somebody like Andy Beshear, somebody like Wes Moore. I actually think if we're going to start something earlier, I think Andy Beshear and Wes Moore should just decide they're running as a ticket, announce it. I don't care which one is at the top of the ticket, but that would be a great way to go out and, run together. I don't think it's going to be Gavin Newsom. It's not going to be Kamala Harris.
Matt, Gavin Newsom looks the part like out of central casting. Obviously from California, could raise a ton of money and has big name ID. Would Republicans want to run against him or one of the others?
He looks the part like every slimy politician or used car salesman. So, yes, he does look that part. But, look, I think what Gavin is, falling in the same trap so many Democrats are, where they're falling in love with tactics. Like, let's start a podcast. Let's swear on social media. Let's tweet in all caps. They're missing the point. Their whole point is a strategy, right? Ask Gavin what qualifies. Can a man get pregnant? And he would stumble, right? He can do that a lot easier than, say, a lot of other candidates. So I would be very, very bearish on Gavin's chances right now. Not to say I don't think California is a disaster, and that would be showcase number one in a general election.
President Donald Trump has never played by the stale rules of Washington, and Americans are grateful for it. His bold call for a 2026 pre-midterm convention is a political masterstroke that will cement America First policies, energize the Republican base, and ignite Generation Z voters. This convention is a seismic shift that sends a clear message to every politician: fight for the American people or step aside. The GOP's victories, from retaking the White House and strengthening congressional majorities to delivering real wins on border security, tax cuts, a stronger economy, and energy independence, set the stage for Trump's call for a pre-midterm national convention that breaks political tradition. While establishment Republicans cling to fundraising dinners, closed-door sessions, and tired speeches that leave voters disengaged, Trump has mastered turning rallies into movements, from the electrifying 2016 campaign that flipped battleground states to the packed arenas of 2024 that re-energized the base. A pre-midterm convention would unite delegates from all 50 states to celebrate achievements, set a clear agenda, and ignite voters. The contrast is clear. Conservative values of law and order through Trump's National Guard blueprint to combat crime, economic freedom that fuels innovation, and family-first policies that honor tradition stand in sharp contrast to Democrat failures, including 9.1% inflation in 2022, open borders that allowed more than 11 million illegals, and foreign policy disasters that emboldened adversaries. By highlighting Republican successes like cutting gas prices through energy independence and appointing judges who defend constitutional rights, this convention would rebuke the Washington elite and prove Republicans deliver results while Democrats deliver excuses. Unity is part of the strategy, but this is also a pivotal opportunity to mobilize Gen Z, the 68 million young Americans born between 1997 and 2012, who are increasingly open to conservative policies, but need a reason to show up. A midterm convention can be that reason.
Vice President J.D. Vance touting the Trump administration's historic wins during a visit to key battleground state. We're talking about battlegrounds again, Ashley Strohmeyer, Wisconsin.
How nice is it to have a president of the United States who, instead of raising your taxes, is cutting your taxes by historic margins every single day, as we just did? How nice is it to have a president of the United States who cut taxes on overtime because we believe that if you spend an extra hour at work, the government ought to keep its hands the hell out of your pocket. Is that right? We were on the freight train to bankruptcy under Joe Biden's leadership because we had a Democratic Party that didn't care enough about this country to actually enforce our borders.
Jason Miller is a former advisor to Donald Trump, and he joins us now. Jason, thanks for talking to us this morning. What were your key takeaways from this yesterday? And also, how important is it that the Trump administration get the people of Wisconsin on board with them?
Yeah, so it's a really great asset for President Trump's administration that they have a vice president like J.D. Vance that they can deploy out to the battleground states. We're heading into the midterms, and we know Republicans are going to hang on to the Senate. We're in good shape there. Typically, with the House, the party who has the presidency loses about 20 seats or so. Here's why it's different this go-round. Number one, President Trump is doing about 5 points better now than he was at this point in 2017. In fact, he's even doing better than former Presidents Bush or Obama at this point in their second terms. President Trump has raised $1.5 billion. Here's the thing, though. J.D. Vance is a secret weapon. He's really helped the RNC lead their midterm fundraising efforts. And so RNC, the Republican Party, has $80 million in the bank. Democrats only have $15 million. So as they get out there and talk about things like this working families, middle-class tax cuts, no tax on tips or Social Security or overtime or securing the border, these are wildly popular policies. Now we have some great messengers who can go deliver.
Yeah, this is part of a rebranding by Republicans as to the Big Beautiful Bill. Trump came out this week and said, Big Beautiful Bill was good when we were kind of trying to craft the legislation. Now that we're trying to sell it to the American people, it doesn't work. We got to come up with a different name. So this is kind of like, what's in it for you, American people, Bill? And mark my words, Jason Miller, I think that when people next year see their tax refunds, I think that's going to be one of the biggest messaging wins for this White House, for Republicans going forward in the midterms. And speaking of the midterms, Jason, as the White House celebrates wins, President Trump seems to have big plans for not only the future of the Republican Party, but these upcoming elections. And he's got an interesting idea. He wrote the following: "We want every aspect of the presidential election, and based on the great success we are having, are poised to win big in the midterms." To your point, Jason, the results are incredible, a record pace. In that light, I am thinking of recommending a national convention to the Republican Party just prior to the midterms. It has never been done before. Stay tuned. Jason, do you like this idea? And if so, why?
I absolutely love it. Number one, anything that President Trump does is going to get an inordinate amount of attention. People are going to lock in and focus. Keep in mind that in the midterms, the president is not on the ballot. So it's key that we have all the Trump voters fired up and focused on the task at hand. And we think back to the 2024 convention that we had. It was so fantastic. Every night was just great lineup, great speakers, great messaging. We can suck all the oxygen out of the room, have people focused on, as you said, talking about this historic economic gains. Americans are much more in a good mood about the economy. And part of the reason is the blue collar wages are growing at the fastest pace right now than they have in 60 years. These are great results. And so you're right. As people look at their paychecks and they realize what the Republicans and President Trump and Vice President Vance are doing, I think they'll vote Republican next year.
Yeah, and you made a good point, Todd, when you say that when people actually see it, like, you can talk about it all you want, but until it actually affects the American taxpayer and the average American, and they see it firsthand, that's when it really makes a difference. Jason Miller, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Their frustration with the left is clear: sky-high inflation, record crime, and the relentless push of woke ideology. The 2025 Harvard Youth Poll found that 75% of young voters believe the country is headed in the wrong direction, with 62% citing a worsening economy under current policies and nearly half naming cost of living, such as housing, food, and gas, as their top concern. A Yale Youth poll revealed 35% now favor Republicans in the midterms, a notable increase from past cycles. Gen Z does not trust institutions and is disillusioned by political posturing. They crave authenticity while being bombarded by liberal propaganda in schools, on social media, and from Hollywood. They see through empty promises of equity, knowing it means higher prices, fewer jobs, and more division. With nearly 60% of Gen Z college graduates unemployed compared to just 25% of prior generations. President Trump understands this. A high-energy convention featuring conservative stars like Senator Josh Hawley, R. Missouri, and Representative Anna Paulina Luna, R. Florida, along with influencers such as Charlie Kirk and Anthony Raimondi, known as Conservative Ant, can deliver messages tailored for TikTok and X. These voices can speak directly to Gen Z's entrepreneurial spirit, with policies that support small business tax cuts, energy independence to cut gas prices, and unapologetic defenses of freedom. That spark could boost Gen Z turnout by 10% to 15% in the midterms, making them the GOP's secret weapon. Failure to capture their energy risks apathy or a drift toward third parties. This convention will energize the grassroots and unify the Republican Party. The GOP is already outpacing Democrats in record-breaking fundraising, but a unified front delivers more than dollars.
Someone dared to heckle border czar Tom Homan at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit Saturday night in Tampa, Florida. It did not go well for the heckler.
Let's release them in the community. Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. This guy wouldn't know it's like the Surface Nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. The only thing that surprises me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser.
Tom Homan also had some choice words for protesters outside the venue as police were breaking up scuffles.
Let me leave a little message for the protesters, the haters, the criminals, the ones that want to threaten ICE officers, threaten their wives, threaten their children. They're doxing not only the officers, they're doxing their spouse, they're they're doxing their children. You know what? I'm sick of so if you want some, come get some. And I'm tired of them. For the men and women of ICE, I deserve your respect.
In focus now, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA founder. First of all, set the scene for us and any words you'd like to say to the haters.
Well, first of all, we had 7,000 people there this last weekend. It was one of the largest events we've ever done. Students from all across the country decided to spend their summer break to be trained, to be educated, to be fired up, all about saving the United States of America. And it goes to show that this movement that President Trump has started is only getting bigger. It has more energy, more enthusiasm, and it's strengthening. As far as the protesters, they made almost no impact whatsoever. It was very hot and very humid, so I hope they stayed hydrated. But I'll tell you what, look at what a contrast, where that is what the left is doing. They're marching through the streets, protesting law enforcement. Meanwhile, inside the convention center, we are preparing to go back on college campuses and high school campuses, further our organizing. And these students, our students are so joyful. They're so cheerful. They're so patriotic. They love the nation. They're willing to organize and fight for it. And I'll tell you, what we are seeing right now is like Woodstock in reverse. It is the greatest cultural and political realignment we've seen in over 50 years.
Let's take a look at that. Charlie, here it is.
What strikes me about this generation is the most conservative generation that we have seen in well over 50 years, and the numbers show it. This is the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock. We have never seen a generation move so quickly and so fast, and you guys are making all the liberals confused.
Charlie, I mean, the movement to the right for Gen Z is epic. Talk to me about it.
It's epic, it's real, and it's sustained. You know, some people thought, oh, it was just President Trump's election, and then young people are going to move back towards the left or back to the center. That is not correct. The Harvard Youth Survey, the Yale Youth Poll shows that Gen Z is moving further to the right. David Shore, in an interview with Ezra Klein, and David Shore is one of the data experts on the left, he says this is the most shocking development of the last couple of years, is the sudden rightward shift that we have seen with younger voters. And there's lots of reasons for this. It's rebellion from the lockdowns during COVID. It is the political correctness. The next generation, they want to be able to own homes. They want to get married. They want to have kids. The 3 M's, which is they want a mortgage, they want to be able to mate, and they want to be able to get married. And then finally, I'll tell you, this is the most important part, is that we as conservatives are dominating in new media. We're dominating in podcasting. We're dominating on TikTok. We're dominating on social media because we are a movement that believes in freedom of speech and that is able to have different ideas but build coalitional type politics. And so my message to any Republican senator or people on Capitol Hill, you guys have to understand there's a gift that has been given to you, that the next generation is finally Republican and conservative. We've been dreaming of this for 20, 30 years. Let's not mess it up. Let's fulfill that mandate, and let's make the future more conservative than ever.
Look, we've got some of the data, but I want to spend the last few seconds with you talking about how do you do what other generations have not been able to do, and that's to get young voters to actually vote.
Yeah, that's part of the organizing capacity of what we do at Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, which is we embrace early voting. We do voter registration, massive events on campus. People have seen when I go to campus, we're throwing out MAGA hats, we're making voting fun again, and this is just the start of a very exciting, optimistic movement.
Making voting fun again. I caught it. I got it. I'm sure there's a hat coming. Great to see you, Charlie Kirk, giving a voice to all of those young people. It's why you do what you do, and you are good at it. Appreciate you.
It locks in a clear midterm agenda, quashes internal battles, and promises a surge of support as Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and other Republican stars deliver high-profile speeches that draw major contributions. By showcasing Republican successes in safety, job growth, lower gas prices, and judicial appointments that protect constitutional rights against Democrat failures like open borders and green energy disasters, the convention will mobilize voters. With the economy rebounding and Trump's approval rising, it ensures Republicans avoid complacency and secure dominance. A midterm convention also challenges GOP lawmakers to deliver results or leave Washington. Voters are demanding accountability, expecting politicians to prove their commitment to the America First agenda by securing the border, cutting red tape, and prioritizing American workers, while elevating rising stars who represent the next wave of conservative leadership. This moment is an opportunity to purge establishment Republicans who align with elites and replace them with fighters for the American people, reshaping the future bench of Congress.
I had the honor of a lifetime Thursday night, got to meet with the 47th President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, right here in my own hometown. It was my 5th time having the opportunity to meet one-on-one with him. This is certainly the coolest moment. This is actually the first time I got to meet with him since he's a sitting president. Obviously, I worked for him during the campaign, so most of our interactions was during that time. But this is the first time as the commander-in-chief. Also, it being in my hometown, extra special. Not something I expected originally. I think it was supposed to be 5 minutes. And of course, the guy that we all know and love so much talks a lot. And so he kind of brushed his handlers off of, let's keep this conversation going, don't rush me. And it was pretty cool to have that. I will certainly say, as somebody that worked with him really close on the campaign trail, this is the first time this cycle, there was any type of youth outreach from a Republican candidate. The DNC started a youth advisory council in 2005. President Trump commissioned our youth advisory council in January of 2023. So 20 years after the DNC did it, the RNC hadn't have done anything. And together with Michael Watley and Susie Wiles and the president's team, Trump made this a priority. And he wanted to actually make an effort to reach out to the next generation of Americans. I was honored to chair that, and I'm honored to continue to chair that going into the 26th cycle and the 28th general election. And that's most of what we talked about in this meeting. And so the first thing he said as I walked across the carpet, kind of in this backstage holding room, was, "You've been killing it lately. You killed it this morning." And he happened to have caught a segment of me talking on Mornings with Maria. He was watching Scott Bessent. He said the segment before me, and Scott announced that minerals deal being signed with Ukraine, and he happened to keep the TV on. Thankfully, he did. And so he said, "You killed it. You killed it." And he happened to have caught my segment, previewing his speech and talking talking about all the great efforts that we had made in some recent Yale polls with Gen Z. And he turned to Caroline Levitt, who was standing, right outside of the room, and said, "This guy's been killing it. This guy's killed it." And he goes, "Do you ever get nervous on there?" And I was like, "No, sir, but I am pretty nervous right now." And he goes, "Oh, you'll be fine," kind of pat me on the back. And said, "You'll do good." And we started talking about the youth vote. And the first thing I told the president was, "You got this secret weapon going into 2026. We were talking about kind of if we think we can continue to make gains, because my priority as the chair of the RNC's Youth Council is that 24 is not an anomaly, to make sure that it's not a one-time win of Gen Z, but we continue to kind of grow on that. The Democrat Party is a sinking ship of a party. I think come 28, they will be a Titanic at the bottom of the ocean as we go to swear in JD Vance as our 48th president of the United States. The Democrats are going to have to, realize, wake up and smell the roses after this devastating defeat where they lost every single swing state, that they messed up, that they went too far, to the left. They're too radical. They're too woke. They're going to move more to the center. They're going to come back to their moderate base. That way, they'll kind of inspire more of a Joe Manchin type figure to lead their party going forward. They did the opposite. And I'm glad they did the opposite. But they've actually put up figures like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders as their leaders. None of those people are inspiring Gen Z. None of those people are bringing, more voters into the party. It's just making this weird radical wing of the party be the vocal voices. So by all means, let Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and Bernie Sanders be the voice, the future of the DNC. It'll make our job easier come the midterms and come 2028. But it's a really weird position that they've taken to go more radical than Kamala Harris. And that's why Kamala lost, because she was too radical. So I think that's why they're not winning Gen Z and why we're not seeing any numbers go in that direction. They certainly have a interest of people who aren't necessarily educated on politics or how government works, but they hear the catchphrases from the socialist leaders of the Democrat Party where they say free college. And the DNC right now is doing this thing where they dangle free things and emotions in front of the face of Gen Z, and they're attempting to win them over. And they're doing a poor job of it. But sure, there's a few people that fill up an arena for AOC, and those people are simply there for those free things because AOC is going to make life better and more affordable and easier to live by actually, making it harder on taxpayers. But the young people in the audience aren't thinking about that. They're thinking of free college. Of course, I'm going to support this bartender from New York. And they're not actually looking into the facts of it. I think a big reason why Gen Z rejected that come last November was simple, because for decades we've been sold this false bill of goods from the Democrats. The DNC had a monopoly on Gen Z before this. Like, it was never a debate of who's going to win the youth vote. It was always the Democrats. Republicans never put up a fight before. And this time we sure put up a fight. And the president visited college campuses. I spoke on 27 college campuses. The president made a point to go on dozens of podcasts. He filmed TikToks daily. We made an effort to reach out to the next generation and say, hey, Make America Great Again isn't just a campaign slogan. It's not a bumper sticker. It's the way of life we want to make for all of you, every single one of you, young and old. We want to make America great again. And I think in just 100 days, the president's shown that gamble that Gen Z took on him is paying off, that we're actually making America great again. And it's not about ego. It's not about the president's legacy. He could be at Mar-a-Lago playing golf for the rest of his life, but he's making an effort to actually come back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and make life better for Gen Z. I think that's going to be a really hard thing to campaign against come the midterms. I think it's going to be super hard to campaign against this list of accomplishments come 2028, where the Democrats are trying to, like I just said, scare Gen Z with these emotions and dangle free things in front of them and say, oh, well, they're Nazis and they're Hitler and Elon Musk is trying to be a king. And then we come out and just say, hey, here's a bullet point list of the things we've accomplished in the first 100 days. That's a really hard thing to campaign against.
Meanwhile, Democrats are leaderless and floundering in internal chaos and deeply unpopular policies. A 2025 CNN poll shows that while 72% of Democrats say they are motivated to vote, only 58% view their party favorably, compared to 76% for Republicans. Trump's call for a midterm convention is another power move that highlights Democratic disarray, exposing their lack of leadership, failed policies, and overall weakness. Trump's midterm convention is not just about exposing Democratic failure. It is about building the future of the movement and securing a foundation that lasts for generations. It is now or never for conservatives. A pre-midterm GOP convention led by Trump represents the next chapter in his revolution, timed to capture Gen Z's openness to conservative ideas. By rallying young voters with authenticity and real solutions to their everyday struggles, amplifying momentum, and holding Republican leaders accountable, this convention can turn frustration into lasting America First policies. The GOP cannot afford to let woke politics or establishment complacency derail America's future. Seizing this moment ensures 2026 delivers not just a victory, but a generational turning point that will shape the direction of this country for decades to come.